How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Milo's Motors. Today is a very cool project. As you can tell by the title, it is a 2007 Yamaha R1. It is my brother's. A little backstory on it. The reason that we're rebuilding it in the first place, he rode it for a while. I think he put 7,000 to 8,000 miles on it within the first year. Kid loves the bike. And one day he went on a ride, came back, let it idle for like 2 minutes. Really shouldn't be a big deal. Fans were kicking on, cooling system, there's nothing wrong with the cooling system. And all of a sudden it started idling really weird, like bup, 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 kind of sounded like it was cammed. Maybe not that abrupt, like bup, 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 but you understand. So we went digging and figured out that the head gasket had gone. 3 of the 4 cylinders, you could see the tops of the pistons were actually a different color, like they were a lot lighter than the 4th piston. Spark plugs also smelled like coolant on those 3 cylinders. So tore it down, took the cylinders and the head to a machine shop. They made sure that everything was all level. So we got really lucky. The bores weren't screwed up, the head is not warped, and the cylinder deck was not warped. So we got away with doing a simple hone job on it. We're going to be replacing the piston rings, base gasket, head gasket, a couple other associated gaskets with the whole rebuild, and then we will be measuring valve clearance, and it's going to run beautiful. I've got the OEM service manual, so I will mention all of the torque specs as we go. This is meant to be informative and to better arm you to do the same thing to your bike. So let's get after it. These cylinders did turn out really freaking clean. As you can tell, got all the gasket off the surface. The hone done by Metric Motors in Centerville, Utah was just phenomenal, so we're looking great. Alright, first things first, we are going to be doing the piston ring end gap, one of the most important things in a healthy motor. So the top compression ring, the very top guy, that is going to be 0.15 to 0.25 millimeters. The second ring, right beneath it, is going to be 0.3 to 0.45 millimeter end gap. And then the oil ring, which sits in the very bottom, those are 0.10 to 0.40. So at this point, you're going to want to already have your cylinders cleaned, and I would recommend cleaning the gasket surfaces first as well, just so that no debris is left over. Just clean as you're going to get it, so we're ready for the next step. On this particular build, we are going to be keeping the pistons because they don't really have a lot of scratches or anything on here. There are some marks, but nothing that's bad enough to replace them. So let's get to gapping these. So we're going to start on number 1. I'm going to be using Yamaha 1040 as lubrication to protect the cylinder from any scratches. Now these are coated with what's called Nicosil plating, which is used in most of Yamaha, well, I think all actually of Yamaha's more modern dirt bikes, sport bikes, any power sports that they make, they use a Nicosil coating on the cylinder. And it's a really durable coating that has a lot of anti-friction properties. So I don't think you can see it, but I just dipped my finger in the oil, got this all nice and lubed up. Number 1 cylinder, number 1 piston, new ring set, OEM. I'll keep this over here. Your top ring is going to have a clean face to it, so it's bronzish, has that silver edge. Your second ring is not going to have that silver edge, same color face. Top ring has a T right here, Hopefully you can see that. Second ring, 2T. We'll leave 2T aside. To gap these babies, you're gonna take your ring. I like dropping it in like this. That closes the gap right here and makes it a little easier to slide into the bore. You still want to be really careful. Nicosil is going to be really hard to scratch, but if you paid the money like I did to get it machined and honed, we definitely don't want to induce any scratches. So once that is all the way in there, you're going to take your piston, flip it upside down like this, and drop it into the bore really even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go until all of the ring land is inside of the cylinder, just like that. Make sure it's all nice and even here. So my gap is right here. Going to take my feeler gauges. Remember, our top compression ring specification is 0.15 millimeters to 0.25 millimeters. I'm going to start at 0.1, just make sure we're good here. That goes in real nice and easy. No drag or nothing. So we're definitely bigger than that. Let's jump to the bottom end of spec, which is that 0.15 millimeters. Drop it in there. So 0.15 slides in super easy. So we're in the bottom end of spec. That's good. Let's jump to 0.23 millimeters. Make sure that's the right one. Gently. That one, that's starting to grab a little bit. I'm pretty confident in saying that is going to be our gap measurement right there. So my mic died just before I recorded this section, and toward the end of the last clip where my mic was still working, I realized that 0.25 was at the very top end of spec for that top ring, and I knew that wasn't quite right because I have built engines before and I've been in that situation where they don't measure right out of the box. So the first thing that I always do in that situation is take my micrometer out, and I make sure that that ring is completely even all the way around. I would recommend starting with this, and I should have started with this. However, I'm glad that I did both methods to show you a hack versus an actual guaranteed even reading. So use that micrometer, got it all even, and I can't remember right off the top of my head what this measurement was. I'm pretty sure it was 0.2 or 0.23. Either way, it was right in spec this time, so I am able to pull this top ring out and continue on with the second ring. So setting this second piston ring in the bore, we're going to follow the same method as before, where we're dropping it in on its side like that, putting the ends in, and here we're using the micrometer. As we saw, that piston method, it works if you don't have a micrometer, but if you're building a motor, you should have a micrometer anyway. This is going to give a much better read. Make sure that piston ring is all the way equal in there. Here we're following the same process as with the top ring, going from the bottom of spec to the top of the spec, and really that's as far as this goes. You just got to be careful, make sure that everything is equal so you're getting a good measurement of that gap. Just take your time, be patient, and double and triple check your work and you'll be all good. Now if you get lucky like I did, your piston rings are all within spec, so there's nothing more you have to do. If the gap is too large, there's nothing you can do about that. You have to send the rings back and get a new set. If the gap is too close, you'll end up filing the end down to create more gap. You want to be super careful with that. I don't go over it here because I didn't have to do it, but there are resources out there that show you how to file a piston ring down. Now moving on to the oil control rings. These are very fragile, so do make sure to be careful with these, dropping it in the same way as we did the top 2 rings, making sure it's even with the micrometer. Once we got that, we go from the bottom end of spec to the top end of spec. Here I really just measured 0.1 mil and then 0.4 mil. 0.4 wouldn't go in, so I was good on the top end, and 0.1 wouldn't go in, so I was good on the bottom. So called it, and we're good to go. If your rings are out of spec, you will have to get new ones because these cannot be filed. Alright, let's talk piston ring installation now. First step is going to be getting your wavy guy here with, oh, I hope that focuses. You're going to go with the zigzags this way, not this way. It does not end on a downturn. So these 2 ends will butt together. They will go on this bottom ring here, this bottom ring land. Let's go ahead and drop that baby in. Make sure it's nice and seated all the way around. And you're going to get your oil rings here. They're not directional. You just slap these babies on. We will put the bottom one in first. Start by getting at the end of it in there like that. And then work it around. Nice and gentle. Grab it by the end. Now second one. Bottom one gap is here. Let's go all the way over here. Start it by just poking that guy in the top. Working it around. Pop that end gap into place. Now you're good. Make sure everything's nice and settled. Now we'll go to the second compression ring. This will have little writing on it. That faces up. The most proper way to do this is by using a piston ring tool. It's like a set of pliers with 2 teeth, and they grab this and they spread it. It's a really gentle way of getting this on there. I have somehow misplaced mine, and I've done this long enough that I am careful enough that it's not going to hurt it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop one edge into the ring land. I'm going to slowly work it around. Make sure that it's dropped in there all the way. Kind of pull this away as you're going in. Just slowly work it around. Gently pick the end up. Trying really hard not to scratch anything. Then bam, you're in. Squeeze. If you had to file these, squeeze the ring and make sure that it spins in that land really smooth. If you squeeze it and it will not turn, you need to take this back off and smooth out the end that you filed. I've had it before where they have little imperfections on them and it'll sit there and stick in the piston, and we do not want that. So let's set that end gap over here. Top ring, same deal. T, that goes up, same idea. Drop this baby in the ring land. This top one is the easier of the two to do this. And that one, yeah, that was super easy. Just slide in there, same thing, squeeze it, make sure it spins all nice, then bam. Now we got all of our pistons with all the rings on them. Let's get to putting them in the cylinder. Alright, preparing to put the pistons into the cylinders now. And a crucial element to get correct is actually orienting where the piston ring end gaps are. Got a little diagram here on my phone. Going to be referencing that. So this is the intake side, this is exhaust side. Our top ring is going to go and right in that area. It doesn't have to be spot on, it just has to be close. Oh my goodness, focus. Okay, top ring there. Second ring is going to go completely opposite of that. So that'll be over in this corner right there. Top ring here, second ring here. Now our oil rings, the top one, our gap is right here. Gotta shimmy this around. The upper oil ring rail is going to go over here. It's going to be hard to see. There it is, you can see the gap right there. Or over here. Now, bottom oil ring, it can stay right there. Their spec has it somewhere over here, but as long as it is completely opposite of the other one, or opposite enough that they're never going to line up, we're good. So we're bottom here, top is over here, and our center expander is right there. They want that the same spot as the compression ring. Oh, hogwash. It's not going to matter. We'll leave it right there. End gap is right there. Top oil, bottom oil, second compression ring, and top compression ring. Repeat that, all 4 cylinders, and we'll go to the next step. Gonna put the piston in the cylinder. I am trying a method so that I don't have to take the oil pan off, because how the motor sits, I cannot easily get the oil pan off. I would have to figure out a way to jimmy rig it. The best way is to take the oil pan off and take the connecting rods off, but I think I'm going to be able to cheat it. I think that I can put the piston in the bottom of the bore and then put the cylinders on the bike and put the piston pins and the clips in, but we're going to see. If you see this, it means it worked, so keep watching. Even though my cylinders are extremely clean, I'll wash them again and clean them again, because I'm obsessive, because I want this thing to run forever. Should be really clean. Got a little bit of schmutz on there, nice and clean. Take our oil, slap this in here. So as you can see, there's enough oil on there that I've got some accumulation of it right there, but not so much that it's all running down and getting this all wet. That was just from cleaning. Let's see if we can do this. I'm gonna simultaneously squeeze both sides to get that end gap closed. First ring is in. Nice, gentle downward pressure. Second ring is in. Oil rings are not loving it. Pull it back out a little bit. So in this particular instance, I'm going to have to rotate the oil rings a little bit so that the end gap is fully inside of this bore right here. Because if they hang in this area, the end is not going to stay in the bore, and this ring is going to want to pop out, and that is not good. So let's rectify this. Spin them just a little bit. Squeeze. And we're in. We're good. I'm gonna push this a bit down in there so that there's no shot at any of those rings coming out. Bam. Now let's do it to the remaining. It is the next morning. Let's put these cylinders on. Get the hell out of here, Hank. So there's going to be enough tension on the piston rings that they won't fall out. I think it's going to work, man. What do you think, babe? Think it's going to work?
It's going to work.
It's going to work. Start feeding that in. Okay, so right there, you got your connecting rod, and my piston pin is in. I'm gonna push it out a ways. Now, one thing to note, I did pre-lubricate these pins. I am gonna throw as much oil as I can on them right now. I'm gonna stick oil in here too. So that's all lubricated now. So for this part of getting the pistons connected, I just dropped the cylinders down, pushed the pins out of the two center pistons, and got them close enough to the connecting rod that I could slide the pins through. It was a pain, but it is doable. This is actually turning out to be a really great way of doing this instead of dropping the oil pan. It is difficult, and if I had a stand, I would do it the other way, but this is a great alternative. So, I won. Stopped recording because it was so hard to get a good picture or a good view of it, but you look in there, that's my clip. Oh, no shenanigans, exactly how I left it when I cut off. This one was quite a bit easier. So the connecting rods and the way that the firing order works, the two center pistons are going up at the same time that the two outside ones are going down. So since we had to get these two first, I got the pins into the connecting rod and I pulled the cylinders up to rotate the crank to push the connecting rod up higher, giving me more clearance here to get into it from the side. And then I pushed the outside pistons up farther into the bore. I will now show you how I got those clips in. I'll demonstrate it on these outside cylinders, or well, I guess just this one because it's easier to see. That one, same theory will apply, but I'll show you how to get those clips in, how I do it without a tool. I use a flathead screwdriver. So I'm gonna start by just sliding this down, let those two center pistons come up in the bore. Let's see. Oh yes. Drop this guy a bit further. Hopefully I don't push it all the way out of the bore, because then I'd have to redo this entire thing. Gonna push the piston back up a bit. This thing is fighting me. Sheesh. What's going on there? Okay, had an issue. I pushed the piston too far out, so the oil ring kept coming out. good now. Let's start by oiling this wrist pin up. Start that in there. Go up a little bit. And look down the center of it. Now for circlip installation. Hopefully I can do this with the camera right here. Get situated. Stuff our rags in here, because I promise you, you will drop this circlip a couple times, and we do not need to lose it. Okay, so easiest way I've found to do this with just your simple flathead screwdriver is I will grab the circlip, I orient it like this, put the, man, it's a little tricky. So I put that top edge up in there like that. So I'm applying inward, like upward and inward pressure with my thumb right here on the clip. Ah, yep, caught it. See what I did there? You push this up into the groove. Oh man! So up, the screwdriver driving the clip into the groove. Like that. Now, the circlip is going to want to fall out. Yep, just like that, just like it did. You have to quickly move around and drive the whole thing into the groove. Sometimes it pops right in. Other times it wants to be a little silly. Oh man. Oh homie. Ah, there we go. Haha. There we go. So, what you're doing, pay attention to where this little dimple is, this little cutout here. And what you do, come at it like this, with your open end close to that. I like to have it so that this open end is past that point. So I will drive this guy up into this area right here while holding this bottom edge and pushing just straight into the piston. So it'll be in the groove, pushing in. I drive in and this way, kind of pushing in and up, because you're trying to get into the groove. So you push that edge in, and this from here all the way up should get into the groove. And then from here on will be really, really close to entering the groove. So once you get there, hold your screwdriver here, remove your thumb, move it out of the way, and then slowly work your way to the end until it pops in. As you can see there, it did scratch the piston a little bit. Am I worried about it? Not at all. Because it's not gouges, it's not affecting performance, it's not going to do anything. So now that I demonstrated how to do that, you should be better equipped to be able to get this circlip in to the other 3 cylinders. I've been doing this for like 6-7 years, rebuilding like dirt bike engines, Harley engines, a lot of different motorcycle engines, and I've gotten good at getting that circlip in with a screwdriver. I've never had a specialty tool for it, so I've had a lot of opportunities to do it. But Anyway, it is now time to drop these cylinders all the way down and slowly spin the motor over and make sure that we don't have any sort of binding. Bingo, bango. Gonna get a very light rubber mallet, very small rubber mallet. Just tap in a couple places. Make sure it's all the way down. Hopefully these don't move on me very much. I think they're going to. So I'm gonna hold this in the center here. Oh my gosh. Can I do it? No, that's gonna... Alright. I'm gonna spin it very slowly. Shouldn't hurt your finger or anything. Ow! Bullshit. Good. Beautiful. Beautiful indeed. Moving super smooth. No excessive drag noise. We're good. Thank you, Mother.
You're welcome.
So, as you can see here, haven't cleaned my head yet. Gonna do a little time lapse here using the red Scotch-Brite and some carb cleaner. Just soak the Scotch-Brite in the carb cleaner. Go real nice and even around the whole thing. Does a really good job of removing all the gasket material. Then I'll go ahead and wipe it down with the towel, blow it out, and it'll be clean and ready. Alright, head gasket's gonna go on, head's gonna go on. Don't forget the dowels. On this one we got brand new dowels because his old ones got messed up on removal because they were so stuck. Yeah, this will only go one way. Lined up right there. Get your chain through. Just nice and gentle. Nice and gentle. Just how I held your mother last night. I cherished her. But I also didn't because I'm lying. I didn't see your mother last night, don't worry. Alright, let's drop the cylinder head on, eh? Beautiful. Beautiful. Elegant. Awesome. Alright, next step. Let's do these head bolts. Screenshot this if you so wish. This is the tightening order. These are the tightening specs. And it does say to lubricate all of the threads with engine oil. So I'm going to go through first and drop all of these washers in. Last two. Good golly. Alright. So all I'm doing is getting a finger full, just pushing it into the threads a little bit. Spinning all these in now. First step, 7 foot-pounds. Stage 1 torque complete. Second torque, 18 foot-pounds. Third torque sequence, or torque spec, 29 foot-pounds. Bingo, bango. Torque 4, 40 foot-pounds. Final torque. Let's go. Bada bing, bada boom. For peace of mind, I'm gonna go back, double check all the torque, make sure they're all at 40. Last two. Bam. These are at 8.7 foot-pounds. I am only lightly holding the head here so it doesn't mess up my torque. Just don't want to round off that head with the ball Allen. That wouldn't be a good day. Alright, we are now installing the cams, and to get this guy at top dead center, see that T with the line? Have that pointed at the crankcase mating surface right here. There's another visual. So that's all lined up. Let's get the cams put on. The intake cam on there, or exhaust cam on there. Shoot. What's this guy talking about? Alright, so I lost my patience a bit yesterday. Trying to get these cams timed up, and I was missing the mark. I wasn't understanding correctly, so shut the camera off. Got too frustrated, set it aside for the night, came back this morning, and I got it now. We're good. The marks that you want lined up for the exhaust cam is this little dimple right here and that line on the camshaft cap. And this guy, same thing, that mark, camshaft cap. And so what I was doing, I would get those lined up, get that lined up, set these in, and I was having like a ton of slop right in here. So when I tighten the camshaft caps down, this would go completely out of time, this would go completely out of time. So thinking a little further and taking a step back, even though this may seem obvious, I'll just say it anyway because I made the mistake. I put all of the chain slack on this side of the chain because the tensioner will take up that slack. So I pulled the chain as tight as I could get it up around here, just holding it nice and tight, and gave the chain maybe one extra link on this side at the end of where it's wrapping around the cam gear. I put this one in first and then put this guy in and tighten the camshaft caps down. They were slightly out of time, so the manual wants you to use a camshaft tool for this, like a gear alignment tool. Fine and dandy. If you want to go buy that, go get it. What I used is a big set of snap ring pliers, set them in here like this, and I had to rotate this way, so I pushed it this way until it was in time. That took up a lot of slack in between here, brought this guy to where it was in time, and then double checked down here was good, put my tensioner in, rotated the engine over probably 4 times, line that mark back up, these marks lined right up, and no slack, tensioner's doing what it needs to, so we're good. So now we can move on to checking our valve clearance properly. We're gonna start over here on cylinder 1. We're gonna be dealing with these 2 exhaust valves and these 2 intake valves. And these specs that I got from the manual. Intake valve clearances are 0.11 to 0.2 millimeters. Exhaust is 0.26 to 0.30 millimeters. So let's grab our feeler gauges. The measurement I got yesterday was 0.188 millimeters. Stuff this guy in there. What we're looking for is a slight amount of drag. Enough that you can be confident that it's like, yeah, I don't think I could fit any more in there. Not so much that it is hard to push, and not so little that it's like, I think that's touching. Let's see. Let's go up to the top end of our spec, 0.2. Is that going in? That is going in. So that valve is out of spec. Good thing I double checked. This one, try to get this 20 in there. Nah, nope, not going. So with how hard that was gripping the 0.18 mil feeler gauge, I would call this a clearance of like 0.185 or 0.19. I don't have a 0.19 feeler gauge, unfortunately. Mark this intake valve as needing adjustment. All right, checking these exhaust valves now. 0.23, oh, remember our spec is 0.26 to 0.3 mil. Starting at 0.23. Sheesh. We're tight on that one. Let's figure out what that clearance is. What about a 0.2? Roughly 0.2. Write that down. That is way out of spec. Exhaust valve number 2. 0.25. Still not in our spec range. That's gliding under easy. 0.28. That's not going. Don't like that I had to jump from 0.25 to 0.28. And that's just not grabbing. Okay, so I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this one is okay. Because we know that it's not bigger than 0.28 because 0.28 won't go in, and we know that 0.25 goes in pretty easily. I can feel it grab just a little bit, so I'm pretty comfortable saying that between 0.26 and 0.28 is where it's at. So that one's good. Mark this as 0.26 to 0.28 question mark good. Because even though I am marking that one good, I do want to make sure that I'm keeping track of the range that I'm being okay with. Just in case, heaven forbid, I put this thing together, put it in the bike and it doesn't want to start or has a hard time starting, then I will know where to go. But I'm pretty confident that I will not need to do that. Let's go to the second cylinder now. The book, I believe, says to rotate the crank 180 degrees. But really what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate it until these two lobes are facing opposite of each other, kind of like this. You can see it with cylinder 1 right now. That's all we're looking for, is for them to be opposite like that. And so that we measure the flattest part of the cam against the bucket. That's what we're looking for. Doesn't have to be super like by the tooth, you know, but if you want to do it that way, more power to you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. More comfort. But for me, that right there, that's what we're looking for. So let's measure these ones now. I will mark these guys, well, mark this as number 1 for this cylinder. Intake 1, exhaust 1, intake 2, exhaust 2. Start at 0.1, easy, easy. Let's jump up to 0.15. Easy, but starting to feel a little bit. 0.18. Freaking spot on. Nice amount of drag. It's probably our guy right there for that one. Still pretty easy on intake valve 1. So let's go to the top end of our spec, 0.2. Not having it. That one is just barely out. Intake 2 measured at 0.2 millimeters. Intake 1, we'll call that 0.18 millimeters. Wish I had a 0.19 just to put an exact number to it, but I'm fine with 0.18. Okay, exhaust, 0.25 going in. Easy. Easy. Jumped up 0.28. Stupid jump. Good amount of resistance on that one. I'm going to call that 0.28 on that valve. Same thing there. Call both those 0.28. Rather than bore you to death with watching me check the clearance on all of these, just repeat that same process for the remaining 2 cylinders. Make sure that your cam lobes are just pointing diagonally opposite of each other. All you want to do is make sure that the lowest point of the cam, just make sure that that's facing the bucket. Measure that distance. You'll be golden. We'll pick up when I take these cams back off to put different spacers in and bring everything that's out of spec into spec. So I went ahead and I reinstalled all of the buckets here with new shims. Got all my shim numbers here that I had to change. A really easy way to figure out what shim thickness you need is to take the shim thickness, which will be in millimeters usually. Let's say 1.85 for example for a shim. You take that, you add your clearance that you measured, so let's say it's 0.2, 1.85 plus 0.2, that gives you total distance to work with. That's 2.05 millimeters. You take 2.05 millimeters and subtract your ideal clearance. So for instance, let's use 0.15 millimeters. That is actually one of the shims that I had to calculate. So take 2.05 millimeters, subtract 0.15 millimeters, and then you get your shim thickness size, which is 1.9. So on that specific valve, we would go from a 1.85 millimeter to a 1.9 millimeter, and that should put our clearance right at 0.15 millimeters, which is right in the middle of our intake valve spec. Go ahead and do that to all of your valves, exhaust and intake valves, and once you have all those shims replaced, then put your cams back on, cam chain tensioner back in, rotate the motor several times, and remeasure all of your clearances. And I'm not going to go through that again because that's boring. So I'll see you on the next step. All right, got these cams installed. All of the look at Hank, the shop dog. Okay, move, get out of here. Got these cams installed. Everything's good now. Got my cover over here put back on. I verified that the timing was correct like 16 million different times. Got the cam chain tensioner put in, torqued, new gasket. That was an interesting process, trying to get everything timed, gapped, and then installed properly. But we did it, and you did it too. Let's just slap it back together. All the crucial bits are out of the way. Slap it back together and get this thing in the bike, get it running. what's up? The time lapse did not quite go to plan because the camera died shortly after I got the motor in the frame, and I didn't really feel like doing the time lapse from there on, so bike's back together. We just cranked it over a couple times, killed the battery a couple times, just cranking it over, making sure it got plenty of oil pressure, and now it's time to set the tank back on, start this thing up, see how she runs. Come on, Mike. So let's see, let me get
Go lower.
hold on, leave it right there. Gonna have to take that bolt out, Mike. Bro, oh my god, I'm so nervous. 30 seconds, first 30. What are you doing? Oh.
Ralph is going to be a part of this.
Oh my gosh. Stop it. Hurry, come start this thing.
Oh, I'm starting it?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, no gas. You ready? Sure you don't want me to give it any? Keep going.
Keep going. Smells of fuel.
It does?
Yes.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, it does.
Check engine light is flashing as you crank. Good morning. We are back on the R1 today. The last time I recorded was just after we got the motor in and cranked it, didn't start. Pretty frustrating. I briefly mentioned it in the last clip, but as I was cranking it, the check engine light was flashing at me. So started diving into electrical diag, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And I didn't feel like filming it because I don't love metric motorcycle electrical systems. They're just really not laid out all that well compared to automotive electrical systems and Harley-Davidson electrical systems. So I didn't want to make a video 3 hours long of me just farting around. But I did find the solution. I believe we're going to see today. So after discovering that it wasn't getting spark, we confirmed that it wasn't getting spark. So I went through and I made sure that all of the connections that I would have disconnected when I took the motor out were back in. And they were all right. I then suspected the crank position sensor, cam position sensor, side stand sensor. Those were the main three. The lean angle sensor was in there too, but I didn't touch that at all. So that was like, eh. But these three I know would stop this bike from starting. So I went into the manual and figured out how Yamaha laid out the self-diagnostic system on this bike. I went into the diagnostic menu and it said that there were 2 codes present. I cleared it and 1 code came back. I went to the menu that tells you what the code is and it didn't display anything. It said 00, which means no codes present. But then you go to the other menu where it says just how many codes are present, and it said 1. So I was like, what? What in the world? At that point, I was like, okay, maybe it's cam position sensor. Took some readings off the cam position sensor and it was a little wonky. So I felt comfortable doing that first. Ordered one in, slapped it in, cranked it over, same exact issue. So went back to the drawing board, let it sit for like a day or two while I did some other work and came back to it with a fresh set of eyes, a fresh mindset of just like, okay, let's figure this out. No impatience in there. And I noticed that the code will pop up right there. I didn't know that. The manual didn't say that. It said that it would show up in the diagnostic menu. So I looked at that code and it was the side stand sensor. So I'm like, okay, cool. I go to that. The sensor itself on the kickstand was working when it's up. I think it had continuity, and then as you drop it, it didn't have continuity. Maybe it was vice versa. Anyway, sensor was working, but it wasn't getting any power. So then I went a digging in the manual. I was like, okay, let's trace these wires. Let's see where they go. And for the life of me, I could not find a single wiring diagram, as far as I could see, that was legible. None of them were legible. Even if you zoom all the way in, you can't tell symbols, you can't tell anything. So with that, I decided to put the manual aside and just trace the wire myself and figure out where the hell it was going. So that sensor is right here. That's where it plugs in at. And the power wire is a blue with black stripe wire right here. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the ECM. I'm gonna find a blue with black stripe wire, and I'm gonna test for continuity between here and here. In this harness, there are two blue with black stripe wires. We'll just test both and see if it has continuity. It did not have any continuity. So that was telling me that the wire from here to here was broken. The main harness goes around the outside there and then plugs in. So I was like, great, I've got to go digging. Maybe I pinched it with the motor up in this area, so I'll start here. So I cut this whole harness open. It's got continuity from here to here, here to here, here to here. So to there, I'm good. So I'm like, okay, interesting. I wonder if it's in this part where it squeezes in between the frame. So I cut this harness open and I discovered that there were 3 blue with black stripe wires. 2 of them were going here, but 2 of them were splitting off and going to the relay that's underneath the ECM. Tested continuity from here to the plug and got continuity. So I knew that the wire going all the way through was good, and it had a really low resistance, so I know that it wasn't a high resistance issue. So with the relay still plugged in, I back probed, hush up dog, I back probed the blue with black stripe wire, turned the bike on, and got no power on that wire. Looked in here, all my pins looked good, looked in the relay itself, it's not burnt, no pins are bent, nothing like that. The relay was internally faulty on one system. I mean, there's like, I don't even know how many pins, but this controls a lot of the bike, and literally the only thing that went out was the side stand sensor. Whack. So I ordered one in, got it yesterday, let's slap it in. Fingers crossed this thing runs. So, new development. This bike wants to humble me. I put the new relay pack in and bike was still throwing the same check engine light. Kickstand switch was still not getting power. So, I pondered and then I went and hunted more online. And I ended up finding a good wiring diagram. So, I didn't try hard enough, which is too bad. But now I've found the issue. So, there's this little red connector here that comes from the ignition switch, and it's got 2 wires that I thought went to the ECM, but after looking at the wiring diagram, they run back into this relay block. And the blue and yellow wire powers the circuit that powers the kickstand switch, that sends power to it at least. So I verified that voltage was coming out of here, and that was all fine and dandy, and then I tested continuity between this plug and this plug with the blue and yellow wire, and I got nothing. So This was all tucked up like this. I undo this zip tie, flip it over, and what do I see? A cut wire! Go figure. Stupid. So now I'm going to solder that back together. And the lesson that I've learned is if you let a bike know that you don't typically like its electrical system, it'll show up in your diagnostic process. I could have searched harder for a better wiring diagram, and that would have saved me days of work, hours of diagnosis, and a lot of frustration. So, oh well, learning lesson, take it as it comes and move on. But that's the issue. I'm gonna go ahead and get that resoldered now, and then it will run. All right, that wire is soldered. Turning the key on, check engine light is gone, everything works. Let's fire this thing up, for real this time. So nervous. Gonna let it run for 45 seconds. Ooh. There we go! That sounded great! Let's go! Yes! Okay. Well, no ticking, no crazy noise. The idle was a bit rough, but I'm gonna blame that on fuel trims right now. It's gonna take a bit for the ECM to recalibrate, because I mean, even though we didn't change size or anything, those pistons, the rings have a better seal, so it's going to pull in more air anyway. It's going to need more fuel, slightly. Let's go! Yes!
Score!